At 11:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, March 9th, 2026, Mushta Bakam, the newly installed Supreme Leader of Iran, delivered a 12-minute address broadcast across every Iranian state media outlet, every proxy network from Beirut to Baghdad, and transmitted through a Swiss diplomatic back channel directly to the United States State Department. Inside the White House Situation Room, silence reigned as Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and military commanders had been locked in crisis discussions for 6 hours. No press briefings, no statements, no presidential tweets, nothing. By 6 a.m. March 10th, the U.S. had issued no public response. President Trump, already grappling with a collapsing stock market, mounting pressure from European allies to end the war, and 7 American soldiers killed in 10 days, now faced an ultimatum that dwarfed every previous crisis. 11 days earlier, the United States and Israel had launched Operation Epic Fury, designed to destroy Iran's nuclear program, decapitate its leadership, and force regime change within a week. Trump personally promised Americans that Iran would be brought to its knees, Ali Khamenei would be eliminated, and a pro-Western government would emerge. The plan assumed that killing Khamenei would create a power vacuum, that competing factions would fight for control, and that the Iranian people would welcome regime change. But they were wrong. Within hours of Khamenei's death, the IRGC installed his son, Mushta Bakam, as supreme leader. There was no power struggle, no vacuum, only a smooth, military-backed transfer to a younger, more radical leader, willing to escalate conflict beyond what Washington had prepared for. During his speech, Mushta first recited grievances against the United States, listing the assassination of his father, the killing of Iranian scientists, decades of sanctions, U.S. support for Israel, and occupation of Arab lands. Then, at the 7-minute mark, he shifted to the future, presenting 3 demands transmitted through Switzerland: complete withdrawal of U.S. forces from Iraq, Syria, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia within 30 days. Lifting all sanctions imposed since 1979 within 60 days, and $500 billion in reparations over 10 years for the economic damage inflicted on Iran. He followed these with threats: closure of the Strait of Hormuz after the 30-day deadline, activation of defensive military partnerships with Russia and China, including possible foreign bases, and deployment of a full nuclear deterrent capability. Within 90 minutes, China publicly supported Iran's position, and Russia echoed similar backing. Global markets reacted immediately. Brent crude jumped to $121 per barrel. S&P 500 futures dropped 4%. Gold surged, and Bitcoin collapsed as investors sought safe havens. A leaked Pentagon document revealed that while the U.S. campaign had achieved tactical success, it failed strategically. Iranian missile production, nuclear facilities, and underground bunkers remained intact, and total victory would require a ground invasion of 200,000 troops over 18 months at a cost of $3 trillion and 15,000 American lives, an option Congress would never authorize. An emergency White House meeting highlighted the dilemma. Rubio urged escalation, Hego warned of limited resources, Waltz noted China's potential intervention, and General Brown outlined the catastrophic risks of a confrontation if the Strait of Hormuz were closed, including possible direct clashes with Russian S-400 missile systems. The president asked whether victory was possible without American ground forces. The answer was no. Meanwhile, inside Iran, Mushta Bakam and the IRGC demanded results: complete removal of American influence, military rebuilding, and international legitimacy through negotiation as equals. For 4 decades, the U.S. had dictated terms. Now, Iran held leverage. 7 American soldiers were dead, oil prices soared, and China and Russia openly supported Iran, making the Strait of Hormuz a loaded gun on the global economy. Every hour of American silence strengthened Iran's bargaining position. Globally, China sees an opportunity to broker peace and showcase American weakness. Russia benefits strategically from U.S. entanglement, and European allies, Britain, France, Germany, hedge their positions, issuing calls for de-escalation rather than unconditional support. Legal experts note Iran's demands are framed under international law, giving them potential legitimacy in the UN Security Council or International Court of Justice. If America negotiates, regional allies could lose faith, Saudi Arabia may strike deals with Iran, Israel may act independently, and U.S. credibility across the Middle East could collapse. If the U.S. refuses, oil prices could rise further, the global economy may slide into recession, European allies would pressure for a ceasefire, and Congress would not authorize a ground war. The next 72 hours, the back-channel diplomacy, market reactions, and military posturing will define a decade of American foreign policy. Mushta Bakam survived a U.S. strike, demanded terms backed by credible threats, and forced negotiations under duress. History is unfolding in real time, and American power is confronting a challenge it cannot overcome with force alone. The outcome of these critical hours will determine whether the United States maintains its influence or enters an era of diminished global authority, reshaping geopolitics for decades to come.